That's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
The crowd up. And so on, this defense in Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
Dave Montgomery on the Lions, former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's a flag. There's flag. Snap, hold, kick.
Denver wins! Let's go!
They open! No!
What happened? Oh, shit.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the only football podcast tonight. The NFL offseason has officially begun, but not before we take a look back at some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in 2023. We're going to take a look at some firings, some cuts. We're going to look at the NFL free agency, some mock drafts. We're going to do it all. And of course, we're going to end it off with the chives with Kyle. Let's get it. America is football. Football is
America. If you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass. For the moment in time, I don't give a damn. Oh my God! You loved it.
30 to 27.
No!
Chiefs win. Chiefs win 30 to 20. Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Only Football Podcast. A very fast start to the offseason. Rick, you personally had to lose a couple players, and one of them I know you talked about a lot.
Yeah.
There's potentially some things happening right now with the Denver Broncos as well that I wanted to say for the podcast. There was a story that came out that said, I'm Kyle and that's Rick. There was a story there was a story that came out that said Denver is likely to move off of the 13-year quarterback by next week. And that is the feeling coming from the building. And I said last time we were doing this that I thought this time next week, Russell Wilson wouldn't be on the Denver Broncos roster. So this offseason, although we're just starting, it's really going pretty quick. And this is one of those off seasons where it really does feel like the league is going to look totally different next year, whether it's quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson on other teams or franchise quarterbacks like Caleb Williams taking over the reins for maybe a Chicago. It's going to be a lot of movement, and we're going to have our hands full covering this offseason.
Dude, it is. I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, the Chiefs just won the Super Bowl this past Sunday, and things were already in the works on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday. Like, I was like, oh my God, does the offseason always start this fast? Because like you said, like we've got already so much to cover. The Bears have made moves. The 49ers have made moves. There's already like two way too early to predict type of things out in the news. So you're right. We are going to have our fucking hands full. That's for sure.
It's going to be a good time. But before we dive into that, there's something really fun that I got. And this is going to be a surprise for you.
Oh, no.
The NFL has released a list of the top quarterbacks from the 2023 season. Now, It's not 32 quarterbacks, but you would think 32 teams, 32 quarterbacks. But as you know, I think that this season broke records for how many, was it rookie starting quarterbacks? I think it was something like that.
I believe so.
There was over 66 quarterbacks that took a start this year, which is pretty insane when you think about it. That's basically more than two quarterbacks per team.
Like,
yeah, totally
Jesus
insane.
Christ.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to go down the list. Now I can see the answers, but you, however, can't.
Cheater.
Well, I'm not playing. I'm
Cheating son of a bitch. No, I'm just
you're
kidding.
you're the one that's on the stand here. So,
Okay.
Rick, who was the number one quarterback in the NFL this year?
Okay, so I kind of just want to wait because this was a surprise. What does it mean to be the number one quarterback? I guess, like, are we talking stats? Are we talking just like, hey, a bunch of writers pick these guys as the best? Is it yeah, like, is it stats driven, or like, what are we talking about here? Wins?
Okay, so 66 quarterbacks recorded to start, including one for two different teams. A season that seemed to include an unusual amount of bad injury luck under center, that is, until a quick look back at last year's rankings revealed 68 quarterbacks. So this is going to be rankings. So we're talking QBR, we're talking accuracy, passing yards, touchdowns, team wins, maybe. But mostly, this is if you remove everything, who was playing the quarterback position the best, and the stats would back it up to go in this order.
So the number one, I want to lean Lamar, but I think it's a Super Bowl quarterback, and it's not the one everyone's thinking. I think it's Brock Purdy at number one.
Ooh, Brock Purdy. Well, do you want me to tell you the answers as we go?
No, I want you to tell me if I'm right or wrong. That's it.
Okay, wrong.
Damn it. Okay. Then are we thinking? Then I guess I got to go Mahomes then.
It is also not Mahomes.
Fuck. Lamar.
Bingo.
Oh, okay.
66.5% or completion percentage, over 1,000 passing yards, 27 passing touchdowns, 8 interceptions, almost 1,000 rushing yards, though 975, and 7 rushing touchdowns, but 12 fumbles, which is a lot. So the writer said, I'm not going to bury Jackson because of one bad outing in the team's most important game of the season. Offensive coordinator Todd Monken did Jackson precisely 0 favors with how he called the game.
Yep.
And he goes into why he lands here. But the high points landed in the stratosphere, and the timing which they occurred couldn't have been more beneficial to his MVP case. The voters agreed, awarding Jackson the top honor for the second time in his career. The only downside to this was the fashion in which him and his team exited the playoffs.
Yeah.
But it goes on to say, don't forget about how he played in the divisional round, almost single-handedly tucked the Texans into their off-season beds with his arm and legs, which is true. That Texans game was a blowout.
Yep.
But do you agree with that one? Lamar at number one?
I guess. I feel like this is just kind of the MVP vote. Like, who won the MVP vote is the best quarterback. The best at the quarterback position. I don't know, man. It just seems like it's going off MVPs. Do I agree with that? Was Lamar Jackson probably the most important player on the Ravens? Yeah, I would say so. I would agree with it, because if you have a really good defense and a pretty subpar quarterback, I think you can make your way through not only the season, but a couple playoff games, if you aren't the number one seed like the Ravens were. But if you got a guy like Lamar, that just makes your entire team a Super Bowl contender. It's different from having a Super Bowl contending defense to a Super Bowl contending team in general. So I like it. And that's why he won the MVP, number one quarterback overall. I'm a little iffy on that one.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the MVP award, not to get into this conversation, but I think it should include the playoffs. Now, I don't think that it has to be limited to the playoffs. I just think it should be added, because I think at this point in the season, we would all agree that Patrick Mahomes was the most valuable player on any team. I mean, he took a team that had a 15th ranked offense and won the Super Bowl. I mean, it doesn't get much more valuable than that. I mean, that's all they had.
I was gonna say I would agree with that, but then it's kind of like if you do start to get into that, it's similar to what we're saying about the MVP award now. It's like the best quarterback on the number one team in the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season. If you add the playoffs and the Super Bowl in that, it's going to go to the Super Bowl winning quarterback. I feel like, you know what I mean? I feel like that's who it would go to at the end of the day.
But I don't think it should, because like the only reason I'm saying this about Mahomes is because of the team that he had and the fact that he won the Super Bowl with them. I mean, I
agree. Yeah.
That to me was like I said before the game, it will be his most impressive ring, and it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what he did is just exceptional. It's different. It's what these awards are made for. But no, I don't think that it has to go to the Super Bowl MVP or the Super Bowl winning team's quarterback necessarily. There's plenty of times where I would have given Jalen Hurts the MVP last year, and Patrick Mahomes won that game.
Yeah.
So, it could go different ways, but all right, this one I know you're not going to get. I don't know if you'll agree with it.
Okay.
But I'll tell you this. In 2018, this quarterback was ranked 32nd. In 2019,
okay,
he was ranked 18th. And in the last 3 years, he's been ranked top 5.
Last 3 years, he has been ranked top 5. I am going to go Josh Allen.
Yes.
Oh, fuck yeah. Let's go,
Josh
baby.
Allen. Allen's season ended in disappointing fashion, but let's not forget how eager everyone was to bury the Bills when they were 6-6. Allen was hurt. McDermott was losing his edge, and Buffalo's title window was closing until it wasn't. The path to the postseason didn't include much dominance, but it afforded Allen to get right. And by the time he reached the playoffs, he was in vintage form. His 52-yard touchdown run against Pittsburgh was so electric, it inspired a week of debate over whether he'd faked a slide or just awkwardly landed. Or do you remember that? Where they were like, was that a fake slide?
Dude, Josh Allen has been not knowing how to slide for his entire career.
Yeah. Why would you ever assume that he's sliding? Yeah. So he went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes, giving the Bills a chance to win even after Stephon Diggs dropped an incredible pass late in the game. This season wasn't a smooth ride for Allen, but we've reached 2024 with all of our questions regarding the quarterback having been answered. All that's left to figure out is how the Bills might adjust their approach to further maximize his rare talents in the year ahead. And that is Josh Allen coming in at number 2. Surprising?
Yes, but I also look at like the halfway mark and how like he turned it on. You know what I mean? Like he went from that first half of the season where we're like, dude, you're not going to go to the Super Bowl like this to, okay, Josh Allen and the Bills can go to the Super Bowl, right? Like that's how kind of quickly it turned in a half a season, really. So I'm not totally surprised. I think Lamar Jackson to me is still kind of surprising, but Josh Allen, top 3. I could see top 3.
All right. So I just wanted to do 1, 2, and 3 with what the writer had to say. But from 4 on, we'll go a little quicker. So who do you got at number 3?
I think number 3, I don't think it's Patrick Mahomes. Like, I just don't think it is. Number 3... I'm going to go with a wild card here. I'm going to go CJ Stroud at number 3.
Ooh. No, number 3 was Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Mahomes ended the regular season just barely cracking the top 10 after a campaign in which Kansas City's lack of elite talent at receiver became a glaring issue. Because of this, Mahomes labored through most of 2023, never truly threatening to win MVP and finishing with his second fewest passing yards of his career. But all the world But the all-world quarterback's rare beauty returned in the playoffs, where he and the Chiefs put together a strong showing in a wild-card win over Miami, defeated Josh Allen's Bills, and went on to pull off an upset over the Ravens in the AFC Championship. As per usual, Mahomes saved his best for last, leading a couple of crucial scoring drives in the Super Bowl that required him to pick up first downs in essential spots to preserve the Chiefs' chances of victory. When he threw his game-winning touchdown pass to Mecole Hardman, we found ourselves in a familiar place with our jaws on the floor, thanks to the magic of Mahomes.
I love it. I love it.
At number 3. Mahomes I can see 3. That one. I mean, honestly, like, the writer is clearly considering the postseason because they're talking about the postseason. Honestly, if that is the case, then Mahomes, he might be at 2, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's why, again, like, the whole Lamar Jackson at number 1 to me was, yes, he was the MVP, but are we talking best quarterbacks or MVP of the team at this point, right? Because Mahomes was very important to his team as well. One of the better quarterbacks. I feel like he was still in a down year, and let's not take away from the fact that his receivers were really letting him down, and they don't really turn it on into the playoffs, a la fucking Travis Kelce. So I don't want to take anything away from his abilities. It's just that his receivers were letting him down. So to me, it just felt like he wasn't necessarily the best quarterback, at least a top 3, maybe a top 6 or 7. But at number 3, kind of a surprise.
All right. Well, at number 4, I absolutely love to see it because this is a quarterback that I believe is criminally underrated. And in 2018, he was ranked 7th, but every other season he was ranked 15 or lower. But here he is now. Last year he was 8th, actually. So here he is now at 4, which is the highest this quarterback has ever made on the chart. Who is this quarterback?
Is it what was that?
Somebody honking outside.
I was like, I felt like they were like, hurry up. I'm watching. Oh God. Number 4. This is the highest they've been on here. Oh my God. Fuck it. Brock Purdy.
Not Brock Purdy. Now keep in mind,
this
quarterback has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons.
Oh, 7 seasons. Sorry. Oof. God. Is it an NFC or AFC?
Do I want to give that clue away? NFC.
NFC. Do I want to give that clue away? Oof.
It's like Guess Who?
God damn it.
Does your guy have glasses?
Yeah, probably.
Does he have hair?
God, I am trying to think. Best quarterbacks, top 10 best quarterbacks in 23, 7 seasons. I don't know, man. I got nothing right now. I don't know why I'm blanked right now.
Jared Goff.
The
season was absolutely awesome for Goff, and I think he finally is where he should be. Like, he's been at 7, he's been at 8. Last year he was at 8, but this does feel kind of like a comeback because in 2021 he was at 23, then he was at 22, then he was at 20. So he had that Super Bowl push in 2018 and finished 7. So he had a better season this year than he did when he took his team to the Super Bowl. And his numbers this year were pretty incredible. 5,412 passing yards, 7.6 yards per attempt, 34 passing touchdowns, only 12 interceptions, 2 rushing touchdowns, only 7 fumbles in 20 games. I think Jared Goff is not somebody that Detroit needs to talk about moving off of, like I've been hearing in the last couple, like, oh, do they move off Jared Goff? No. No, because like we talked about that with Brock Purdy, where it was like, if this team is so good and Brock can't get them to win the Super Bowl, do they move off Brock? But Brock didn't have, well, he did have good numbers, but Jared Goff just plays the quarterback position. When I watch him play and watch Brock Purdy, I saw Jared Goff look better. I mean, Jared Goff, he was a sniper in all the playoff games, and he didn't choke. Like the pressure, he was so comfortable. In the Tampa game, he looked awesome. In the first playoff game, I forget who their first game was. Oh, the Rams. He went back and forth with Matthew Stafford. Like Jared Goff, to me, proved that he might be a overall top 7 quarterback in the league. And I'm not shocked that he's here at 4, but that's his best season ever.
Yeah.
And number 5.
Yeah. Sorry. No, I was just going to say Jared Goff, like it's surprising to me that he is at 4. It's the highest that he's been, but no, you're right. The numbers were there. And again, I go back to when we were talking about him in like the week 4 or something, and how he's had ridiculous numbers up until that point for like a full season worth of games, and how his numbers were just like amazing, and how it was a ridiculous thought last season to be like, should they move on from Goff? Is he going to get them to the Super Bowl? He got him to the NFC Championship, right? Like that's for the numbers that he had. It's amazing. So a little surprised is at 4, but when you really do look at the numbers over the last couple seasons with the Lions, it really shouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah, and I think there's a realistic chance that he gets even better next year. Ben Johnson not leaving, another draft, which we know that they're right now the hottest drafting team. Yeah, like Jared Goff, the best is yet to come. I really do think that with him. And number 5, I won't make you guess. It was the guy that he went back and forth with in that first playoff game.
With
Matthew Stafford.
Matthew Stafford, yeah.
Matthew Stafford. In year 15, this guy is at number 5.
Insanity.
And last year he was at 22. But the year before, he was at 5 when they won the Super Bowl. And then he was like 13, 9. It only goes back to 2013, but this is his best season since winning the Super Bowl. And when you look at it, even though the Rams didn't win the Super Bowl, Matthew Stafford was also not on the field for all of the games. Like he was injured. He started 16 games, but he was hurt for a large portion of the season. And I know we have, I don't know if it was Crafty, but somebody made a joke like, Stafford's hurt. He's about to ball out, which is such an interesting thing about him that whenever he is a little bit injured. But really, I think the most impressive thing that is on Matthew Stafford's resume this year is the development of Puka Nacua.
Yeah.
You know, Puka Nacua obviously had a historic rookie season, but you don't have that without the quarterback. I mean, I like Jerry Jeudy, right? We haven't had like a strong quarterback position, so it's hard to evaluate if he's really good or not, even though he was highly drafted and Puka Nacua wasn't. It just brings more of an emphasis on what Matthew Stafford did for Puka Nacua. And then to get that offense, one of the hottest offense in the league, especially at the end of the season, the Rams, we were talking about a dark horse playoff team. And that's because of the way Matthew Stafford was playing quarterback and the receivers that he was able to get the most out of, like all of the great quarterbacks do, like Tom Brady. It could be Wes Welker, Julian Edelman. It doesn't matter. Amendola, like great quarterbacks will make receivers look even better than they already are, which isn't to say that Puka Nacua is not great, but Matthew Stafford made him look like the greatest rookie wide receiver we've ever seen. So yeah, I like Stafford at 5. Do you have any problem with it?
No, especially and the fact that he's at 5, a top 5 quarterback in a season with missing time is actually pretty goddamn impressive when you look at it. Like you said, like you mentioned, Puka Nacua, he already had that relationship with Cooper Kupp. Like the fact that he was able to do that, you know, on a year where no one was expecting the Rams to do anything at all. Like we were looking at, 49ers and Seahawks probably going to, be top 2 in that NFC West. And the Rams came out of nowhere and we're like, kind of like what Crafty said, oh yeah, our quarterback's hurt, but watch this real quick, right? Watch the latter half of the season and watch us win games and, as this many games in a row, beat teams that we're not supposed to beat and do it who was a 5th rounder or 7th rounder and have a guy, Kyron Williams, who was a late round running back. Watch us do this. And it's just like, wow, that's impressive. And again, with the Puka Nacua thing, he's a very talented receiver. And no, I'm not going to take any credit from him. And then you add the fact that Matthew Stafford is throwing in the ball, and you're just like, well, of course, this guy's definitely going to succeed there. So Matthew Stafford at 5, not that surprising. And the only surprising is that he's a little bit higher than what I expected with the time missed.
Yeah, and he has he was in year 15 going into year 16, so he has this year, next year, and then maybe one more year. Like Manning retired at 18 seasons, so you may see a fast decline. I think for Manning it happened in 1 year, but he is at that age where he might only have 1 or 2 more of these type seasons left in him. And I think he wants to get 1 more Super Bowl ring before he's done. And the way he played last year, if that is going to be a continuation going into next year, I think it's totally possible.
Yeah, his defense needs to get better. That's for sure, though.
Yeah. And number 6, this quarterback I thought had a very, very, very good season. But unfortunately for him, it's going to get completely lost in his career because of the way the postseason went. Who do you think I'm talking about?
Baker.
Not Baker.
Not Baker.
I would say the opposite about Baker. Baker had a good postseason.
Yeah. Joe Flacco?
Not Joe Flacco. NFC.
NFC. Jordan Love.
Not Jordan Love. It'll be somebody that could have won MVP like throughout the whole season.
Oh, Dak Prescott. Yeah.
Yeah, for the majority of 2023, he played at an MVP level. And CeeDee Lamb and him had like a historically great connection. And yeah, I think Dak Prescott, who had 287 rushing yards, which is kind of an underrated part of his game, but that's a lot of rushing yards. You look at Matthew Stafford, like he has 65. You look at Jared Goff, he had 24 on the season. Patrick Mahomes had 530, including the postseason. So Dak Prescott, not really a runner, but he's also not completely stationary. He will take off, and it's just something that gets forgotten maybe about his game a little bit, but almost 5,000 passing yards, 39 passing touchdowns, 11 picks. He had a hell of a season. He might have won that the top award that we were talking about, the MVP, if the Green Bay game didn't go like that. I know they say that it's not a postseason award, but even the writers, even the guys that work for NFL as journalists wrote it. Is exactly what they said. Mike McCarthy's decision to appoint himself as play caller worked because Prescott executed. And if it weren't for 3 truly deadful outings, week 5, San Francisco, week 15, Buffalo, and super wild card weekend against Green Bay, he just might have won the league's top award. So I'm just saying, even the journalists are mentioning it. These guys work for them.
Yeah, and it does suck because like I was listening. I was actually thinking about Dak in the shower. No, I'm just kidding. Earlier today, as I was driving back from work, because they were saying like you have a lot of like Hall of Fame, very like elite type of quarterbacks who didn't win a Super Bowl like way later into their career. We're talking about almost double-digit seasons, right? And even into double-digit seasons where they didn't win one. And Dak might just be unlucky in that sense where he is a pretty damn good quarterback and he may one day be an elite type of quarterback when it's all said and done. It just might be more time. That's literally it. It just might be more time. Like you said, he was having an MVP type season. We even mentioned it, and I believe you brought it up in one of the weekly episodes or like after a very good primetime game that he had. You're like, why aren't people talking about? Or you were saying like, Dak Prescott is an MVP. Like right here, right now, he is an MVP. And for the most part, at that point, yes, absolutely was. It's just they say that they don't take the playoffs into consideration for MVP award. But it just seemed like he crumbles at like the absolute worst moments. And that sucks for him because you have a regular season that's full of great offense, great defense, and then you get to the playoffs and you just fucking turn into Butterfingers and you can't do anything with it.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like he kind of lost. Like the way they lost to Green Bay, nobody will remember anything this season besides that, and that's totally the truth.
Yeah,
especially with the Cowboys' history that going into that game. I mean, that was like the one thing they couldn't do.
like, please not Green Bay. Please not fucking Green Bay.
All right, number 7. I'll give you a hint. Okay. He's a system quarterback.
Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy.
He's a game manager.
5,054 passing yards, 34 passing touchdowns, 12 picks, 218 rush yards, which is
okay,
about 60 less than Dak. The skiller system debate may have prevented you from thinking straight regarding Purdy, but allow me to simplify this for you. In the most trying pivotal moments of the season, Purdy repeatedly delivered. I agree. I think Brock Purdy definitely deserves to be in the top 10. I mean, just look at how his team performed throughout all the season besides that weird 3-game stretch.
Yeah.
You can call him whatever you want, but as long as you agree he's a top 10 quarterback. At number 8, oh, I love this one.
Real quick before you get on, I like this comment by Bill. Not on the list. The guy that called him a system quarterback, Cam Newton.
No, he's next. He's next.
Oh, he's not. He's number 8.
Number 8. If Cam was on the list, he would be an older quarterback, a veteran quarterback. So this guy's the opposite of that.
I'm going. I gotta go CJ Stroud, right?
CJ Stroud.
There we go.
Number 8 quarterback, 15 games, 64 completion percentage, over 4,000 passing yards, 23 passing touchdowns, 5 picks. Stroud just kind of flourished as soon as he got to Houston. And I think if you really look at just the quarterback position in general, like there was a point in the season where CJ Stroud was not up for Rookie of the Year or Offensive Player of the Year, but he was up for MVP, which is insane. I don't know if a rookie's ever won MVP before, but Stroud,
I'll look that up.
Stroud had a pretty good case for it. I mean, when I think we mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but it matters what the expectations are going into the year. And for the Texans, the expectations were to win 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 tops. And they ended up beating out straight up the Jaguars for the division, hosting a playoff game, winning that playoff game as an underdog. And yeah, eventually they got beat in Baltimore, but this is just the beginning. And for CJ Stroud, it does feel like he's only going to make his way higher on this list in the next couple of years.
Oh, 100%. And to answer your question, only Jim Brown has been a rookie who won MVP. So Jim Brown, the only rookie to ever win NFL MVP. And you're 100% correct. Like, he's going to make his way up, and he will stay on this list, in my opinion, probably throughout his career until he starts to kind of, just get old and unable to look the Peyton Manning effect, Matthew Stafford when he kept getting injured. things like that. Like, I think he's going to be up there in that list for the near future, like 100%. You know, the way he played as a rookie, the way he plays with that. I want fans to be proud of the Houston Texans name. So I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that they are proud to wear Texans gear. Like, that's tough to instill into a quarterback when they go to a team. It is, because sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. Some people don't have the same mindset. They just want to build stats. They want to win Super Bowls. Instead, this guy is starting off at the very base level of saying, I want to make this team so good that fans on the street feel good about wearing Texans gear. So with that attitude, man, it's a great like a foundation to start a rookie year as a quarterback.
Yeah, I think he can definitely win a Super Bowl, and I think he will pretty soon. He's that good, and we haven't really seen anything like that since Mahomes. And even with Mahomes, he didn't start as a rookie. He had a whole year behind Alex Smith. CJ Stroud had one of those rookie quarterback seasons that will keep future people jealous when they're trying to draft their quarterback. And he'll make even the owners and fans even more impatient as they wait for their quarterback to develop because of the absurd expectations with CJ Stroud having that kind of a season. Because it's just not very often that you can draft somebody from college that is going to come into the league and be one of the best, including the veterans, everybody. Like, it was literally like they drafted Josh Allen, and like, it's just crazy. Who is one spot above him? Brock Purdy. I think CJ Stroud had a better season than Brock Purdy. I'll take CJ Stroud over Brock. And Dak. In my opinion,
I don't know.
CJ Stroud should be at number 5.
Oh, Kyle already up there. He's saying number 5. I like it.
He balled. He balled out.
He did.
And he only threw 5 picks. Everyone else on this list, Brock threw 12. Dak threw, how many did Dak throw? 11. Matthew Stafford, 11. Jared Goff, 12. Mahomes threw 15. 18, Josh Allen. Lamar with 8.
Nick is going to top you. He said he takes CJ at 3 overall.
Yeah, the only quarterback that had even remotely the same with as far as interceptions was Lamar at number 1, and he threw 8. CJ threw 5.
Yeah.
And he only played 15 games, and he still was over 4,000 yards. So the
Bears could have had him.
The Bears could have had him.
Whatever.
The Bears could have drafted him. It's okay.
Myself.
Justin Fields is going to become the next Patrick Mahomes.
No, he's not.
At number 9, Miami Dolphins.
Tua.
That gives it away totally.
Tua. He
had 4,823 passing yards. He almost had the first wide receiver in history to get 2,000 yards receiving in Tyreek Hill, but unfortunately some ankle injuries late in the season prevented it. But he was on pace for a lot of just kind of MVP type, things to add to his resume. But the way that it's just kind of like Dak, like the way that he played in the playoffs, the same freaking bubble screen that they ran over and over.
Yeah.
It was not a great game. And it was unfortunately probably the only other quarterback to play so poorly in the playoffs. We kind of forget about everything else that happened during the season. But Tua's statistics were incredible in the regular season, and they did have the most explosive offense, and he was the quarterback. So he just gets in at number 9. What do you think about Tua being at 9?
I guess if we're speaking numbers, like to have a receiver who was on the cusp of getting over 2,000 yards receiving, like it's pretty tough to do that as a quarterback. So just numbers wise, like it makes sense. Obviously this does seem to be a more stats driven type of top 10. But if we're talking about like who am I taking Tua as one of the top 10 quarterbacks to start like a franchise? Probably not. Probably not. I could probably think of two other ones, that are in that would probably be a better situation to start a franchise. Tua is a very, very good quarterback. If you asked me if I'd take him on the Bears over Justin Fields, even that one, I would be like, I don't know, maybe not. But I think Tua is a good quarterback. Tua's a good quarterback, and I think with the talent that he has around him, that is what makes him even better. He might just be one of those guys that does take a 5-6 year type of season to really for him to really become and form into a QB1 actual,
And yeah, no, I totally agree. And I don't know if he will. But yeah, if he can just have at least the same type of season next year and play better in the playoffs, we could talk about it. But
yeah,
there's not a lot of hope right now. And it does seem like he's in year 4. So I think, did they pick up his 5th year option? I think they did.
I think they did. Or I think they're still deciding whether or not they're going to.
So that'll be a big decision. But it does feel like Tua has maybe one more year to prove that he's worth $200 million or whatever the contract's going to be. So
yeah.
Before I say number 10, I'll give an honorable mention to 11 and 12 that almost cracked the top 10. Number 11 was Baker Mayfield.
Yes.
Baker Mayfield. He had 34 passing touchdowns, 4,700 passing yards. He did throw 12 picks, but he had a rushing touchdown. He did have 8 fumbles as well. But I think with Baker Mayfield just kind of getting thrown into a new team, being almost in the top 10 for all the quarterbacks is a huge win if you're the owner of Tampa.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is another team that when they picked up Baker, they didn't know what Baker they were going to get. Were they going to get Thursday night, throw it, Hail Mary, win a game type of, Baker with the Rams, or were they going to get Carolina Panthers Baker Mayfield, who they traded midseason or cut midseason, whatever it was. So the fact that he was able to ball out and kind of prove that, hey, I'm still, one of the top, the number 1 overall pick from whatever draft it was. I'm still him. Like, I can still absolutely sling the ball, and he proved it in Tampa Bay.
Number 12, Jordan Love.
Yeah. Fuck.
Jordan Love. You were cool with it for a second. God, I think the person I bought this hoodie from, so I got this on eBay. This is the official Super Bowl from 1998. And I think they had a cap.
Oh, Kyle's about to die on live stream. I hope you guys are donating for his eventual medical fund.
It's like Cat in the Hat when he's on the ceiling and he's scratching so his fur falls down. And the guy's like, is there a cat in here? Okay. Yeah, Jordan Love, he had 37 passing touchdowns, 4,625 yards. He was a little bit of a mystery going into the season, but I think the Packers are going to look back at this season and they're going to not care that they lost, even though it was heartbreaking because they had the Niners and then Love just threw that last pick. And those are the things, though, that he's supposed to be out there to learn from. And very rarely is a first-year starting quarterback even in that type of a game to learn. So I think the experience is it's priceless. And I think everyone that is a Packer fan, or even people that just don't hate the Packers, were pleasantly surprised by Jordan Love because the shoes were pretty big to come fill. And Brett Favre did it with Aaron Rodgers. It just seemed really unlikely that Jordan Love, it's like a lot of people, especially Colin Cowherd, was like, if he was special, they would have went with him years ago. Like, He was wrong.
And this is that's what I mean. Yeah, 100%. And that's what I mean. Like, it does take these guys sometimes to like either sit or even while they're playing to be like, it's not going to be a 2-year thing like a Patrick Mahomes or a Tom Brady. It might be a several year thing. That shit, like a Matthew Stafford, like even a Tannehill, had to go through 2 different teams to actually like be a very solid quarterback. He had his team number 1 in the division, number 1 in the conference for a couple of years in a row there. He was taking his team to the playoffs like 3-4 years in a row there with Tannehill. And this was way after his prime, right? Like nobody was paying attention to him. That's just how it might be, man. And it really is all dependent on the quarterback and the situation. But Jordan Love, I hate him. I hate the Packers. I hate him. I hate that he's good. I hate that he made it all the way to the divisional round. But you got to respect the talent, and you got to respect how, that he was able to do that, go all the way to the divisional round again in a year where nobody expected much from him.
Yeah. And Rick hates him. You heard it here first. Hate. H-A-T-E. Hate.
Could not agree more.
Number 10. I don't even know how he ended up here, and I almost feel dumb for the whole, honorable mentions to build up the suspense for number 10. I don't know why this guy's here. He only played 8 games of the season.
Joe Burrow.
Kirk Cousins.
That was my next one.
Kirk Cousins.
That's crazy.
Because of what he was on pace with. It's crazy. In 8 games, he did have 18 passing touchdowns. So he was on pace for almost 40 passing touchdowns. He only was on pace for 10 picks. Mm-hmm. The numbers are pretty good. He was on pace for around 4,700 yards passing. So that's probably why he ends up here. But Kirk Cousins, the injury, his future, there's a lot of question marks revolving around Kirk Cousins. But I guess this chart shows you that whoever does, whether it's the Vikings that re-sign him or somebody else, they should feel pretty good about Kirk Cousins. I mean, but they won't. And that's the weird thing, right? Like, just like Nick said, I'll take Tua over Russ. It's like, why do those have to be our options? That I feel like that's kind of how it was either between that or Muhammad. Why the fuck would it be between that and Muhammad? Muhammad's the most common name in the world. Read a fucking book.
Russell Wilson won a Super Bowl. Kirk Cousins is one of the most consistent quarterbacks in the league. Read a fucking stat sheet.
Yeah. But doesn't it feel like these are the quarterbacks that if they're your quarterback, you kind of have to like go to bat for? Like that doesn't, nobody's like, oh shit, Kirk Cousins, watch out. Even though he's like, he's better than decent, but he's less than elite. I don't even know what word that is. Above average.
Like the lowest part of above average. That's where he's at.
Yeah, or the lowest part of good.
Yeah. Or honestly, like, well, no, probably the middle of good. It sucks because you're right. Like, you don't feel amazing about a Kirk Cousins at quarterback. You just don't. You feel like, oh yeah, these guys are damn good. They're going to put up good numbers. You might make it to the playoffs. You might win your division with these guys. But when it comes to the playoffs, you're just not going to advance the Super Bowl with these guys. Something about it where you do not feel confident about a Kirk Cousins as your quarterback. Even like another example, probably Geno Smith in the Seahawks, right? Like, you don't feel confident Geno Smith's going to take you to the Super Bowl. You don't feel confident that Kirk Cousins is going to take you there. But Kirk Cousins is just numbers wise so fucking good. He gets yards, he gets touchdowns, like he makes plays happen, and he can win you games, in situations where you don't think you're going to win the game. It's just that when you get to the postseason, it's kind of like, look at what the Chiefs did. They fucking won the Super Bowl in an off year. So I don't think Kirk Cousins is at that level to do something like that.
Yeah, because in my opinion, it's not about getting there. I mean, that's what will keep you on an NFL roster. Yes. But if you want to make a fan base get an erection, then you have to be a winner in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Jackson, right? There's probably teams that would be, he's the number one quarterback this season, and people still don't feel like the same way they feel about Mahomes, even though he has 2 MVPs. Why? Because in the postseason, he doesn't play his best football. Kirk Cousins has 1 playoff win in his career.
Yeah.
1. I mean, he's been in 5 playoff games. And he's a veteran quarterback. He has been around for a while. This is, what season is this?
Is this like his 12th or like 10th?
Oh, I guess they stopped doing that after year 15, year 2, rookie, year 2. Here it is. Oh, they didn't do it for Kirk Cousins. He's the only quarterback that doesn't.
For what?
For, like, it says Baker Mayfield year 6, Tua year 4. Like, Kirk Cousins just says Minnesota Vikings quarterback. Damn, has he been around that long?
I'm trying to see here, like his career stats.
He probably came into the league around 2011, 12.
Because he was the Washington quarterback for a while there. Remember? You like that? You like that? Of course. After Robert Griffin III and all that.
He was drafted, I think, in the same draft as RG3.
2012. So he is, he's in year 12 coming up.
Okay, yeah, year 12, 1 playoff win. That's gonna 13. Glare a little bit more than any of the stats or wins.
He's coming up on year 13. And we got Jinja saying Lil Kirk is a corny ass human being, doesn't jive with the Ginge. And then he's like, "What's up, everybody?" I love it.
I hate Kirk Cousins.
Do you hate Kirk? You don't hate Kirk Cousins.
No, I told you guys last season I had a crush on him all last year.
That's true. He does have a boner for him. You're right.
Whenever he's like, I'm gonna call my dentist to get some grills. Like, he said that was the next step for him, and I was like, I love him.
And then he did the dance number on the NFL Honors Award show. Yeah, no, and the NFL Honors Award show. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, because he was like really embracing the dad energy.
Yeah, 100%. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. So, did you have anything else, Kyle?
No, that was I will say Joe Flacco came in at 13, which I'm like, he played 6 games, so I don't know. Yeah. But the Joe Burrow was at 16 and Trevor Lawrence was at 15. Herbert 17, Anthony Richardson 18, which is pretty good for only 4 games. Geno 19, Justin Fields 20, Russell Wilson 21. All right, so it is an upgrade, right? I mean,
and Russ and Justin weren't the most sacked quarterbacks this year, so that's also an upgrade. Unlike last season,
is he going to stay healthy? Because has he played a full season yet? He only played 13 games last year.
Yeah, he played 13 games. He missed 4, I believe, this year. So already on a bad kind of start to his career with missing that many games. So I don't know. Is he going to be a health risk? Possibly.
Is he going to hold on to the ball too long? Possibly.
More than possibly. Very probably. Very probably.
But you guys will do well with Russell Wilson. I think really the Bears are going to be happy with him. Russ, his numbers weren't bad.
Get the fuck out of here, dude. I'd rather keep Justin Fields at this point in their careers.
It's going to be a straight up trade.
Oh, yeah? Nothing else? Just Russ?
We can't even trade Russ. That's the thing. But yeah, those are your top quarterbacks of the 2023 season. Some you may like, some you may not. Let us know in the comments if you're watching this after which ones were criminally underrated. My vote goes to CJ Stroud. And I think Nick agreed too. I think CJ Stroud deserves to be at 3. He was definitely better than Mahomes all season. So for what it's worth, that's my pick for being too low. Did you have one that you thought stood out to you? Like, oh, that's kind of low. or high?
Honestly, Dak Prescott at 6 for what he did during the regular season was a little too low. I
Yeah.
would probably put him top 4, top 5, maybe over Jared Goff. Probably, it might suck to say this, but maybe over Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Really, like, just numbers wise, stats wise, I think Dak did a top 5 job in the regular season. Again, he gets to the playoffs and he just fucking fumbles the ball. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
but
We're not just
regular
grading
season.
that one game. We're
Exactly.
grading the whole season. Yeah. I
Exactly.
mean, if you see that Packer game and you were like, okay, you got 2 quarterbacks that you can take this season. Like, you wouldn't have taken Mahomes just because, I mean, that's a stupid game because obviously they're going on a different team. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, if you're just judging this year, I think Lamar Jackson and Dak Prescott kind of separated themselves from everyone else. And CJ Stroud, to me, was a really close. I would have been okay with Lamar, Dak, CJ Stroud being 1, 2, and 3. And
Yeah,
then
I could.
Josh Allen and then Mahomes.
Yeah, I could totally see that. That's a good one. I like that. But all right, well, those were your top 10 quarterbacks of 2023 with a couple of honorable mentions there at 11, 12, and 13. Kyle,
Now it's time, baby.
now it's time to get into some very, very notable off-season acquisitions. Well, not necessarily acquisitions, but we're talking about firings, cuts, and keeping people so far in the NFL offseason. And like we said at the beginning of the show, Kyle, it like immediately hit. It was the offseason. It immediately hit. And one of those that just immediately hit, the 49ers fired their defensive coordinator, Steve Wilks, one of the most respected defensive minds in the NFL. And I think you said it perfectly, when we were talking about it before the show. It just seems that he is a scapegoat for what happened. I don't know, you said it, so you must 100% agree with that. Do you think this was the right move for them?
No, I actually disagree with it. I was saying it as like on behalf of the public opinion, but I don't think it's necessarily that. Like, sure, could that have been a part of it? Maybe, but you look at 2 years ago when they had DeMeco Ryans, and the 49ers defense has done some serious regression. There were not the defense that you and I remember from the last 2, 3, 4 seasons. This one was a little bit different. They still had enough talent to, I think, cover up some of the blemishes, but they were allowing I mean, that last drive. I mean, I'm not saying it's because of that last drive, but this passing defense wasn't a top unit. But the reason I probably wouldn't have fired him is because A, who are you bringing in to replace him? And B, this is a guy that has kind of been around all of these coaches. Like, if it's a great coaching staff, then I would imagine it's contagious, and that if he isn't coaching well, he's only going to get better from this point on. And B, they lost their starting safety. And we said when that injury happened that that's the heart and soul of their defense. So, of course, stat-wise, they regressed a little bit. But the 49ers also have a standard. And the standard is pretty high. And it's kind of like when the Bucs fired their head coach, and everyone's like, wow, why?
Yeah.
Well, it's just the standard's a little bit higher when you have the kind of talent you have. And maybe there was a little bit of scapegoat going on, but in total yards per game just allowed, Cleveland was number 1. The Jets were 2. Believe it or not, the Panthers came in at 3, which is something that
still weird.
Still blows my mind.
Still weird.
It's like, okay, is Bryce Young that bad? The Ravens 4, Kansas City 5, Patriots 6, Cowboys 7, Buffalo 8, San Francisco 9. Okay, so San Francisco still top 10 in opponent yards allowed per game, but last year they were number 2, and they were giving up 299 yards per game last year, which would rank this year at around 6. So really, how much did they regress? Well, this year they're giving up 319. So they're giving up 20 more yards per game.
Yeah.
And you lost your starting safety. To me, that there's a clear explanation for those extra 20 yards allowed. Now, if you look at their rushing defense, Chicago was number 1 in the NFL. San Francisco was at 5. That was always not the concern. The 49ers have had a good rushing defense. I think last year they were number 1 or number 2 maybe. But on defense, their weakness was opponent passing yards per game.
Yeah.
And that was, let's see if I can pull it up here using team rankings, passing defense, passing yards allowed. Yeah, they came in at 14. So they were giving up 221 passing yards per game. Last year, the 49ers were at 16. Okay. So they were a worse passing defense last year. And then 2 years ago, they were at 7. So I don't know what to make of it. Like, you never know, like, if there's maybe more to the story than has been leaked to the public, maybe within like interpersonalities, conflicts, just
personnel too, changes, things like that.
Yeah, stuff like that. But it was, to me, a surprising firing. And especially normally when a coaching member, one of the big 3, head coach, offense coordinator, defense coordinator, if they depart from a team that was in the Super Bowl, it's because they got a promotion, not because they got fired. So I was a little shocked about the news. Like, the 49ers defense did regress a little bit, but there's some injuries. Me, I wouldn't have fired him, but I wouldn't necessarily like say scapegoat. Because I feel like that might just be, too big of a word to cover the whole story with.
Yeah. And one of the things that was surprising as well, like you said, when you're looking at like the big 3 and really like, if a head coach is in Super Bowl, he's probably just being kept, but offensive or defensive coordinator, like if they're leaving a team, it is because they're getting a head coaching position, or maybe they want to, I don't know, like similar to what you said, there's some things within the organization that they're leaving that organization to be an offensive or defense coordinator for another team. Maybe have a better shot there or something. But one of the other surprising things about this was the fact that Shanahan said that his coaching staff was going to stay intact. Clearly, that was not exactly what happened. Again, obviously, there's things that we as the public don't have any idea about what's going on within organizations, but it's still just kind of a little weird. I don't know if it does become like a scapegoat situation. It just, to me, like, you still had a very dominant defense. You lost your starting safety, like you said, but you were able to make it to the Super Bowl. And one of the big things really was your defense. They let up one touchdown in the second half of that Lions game, in the NFC Championship game, in the second half. They were able to end that game after that horrible start on a very positive note, on a very dominant note too. So I am a little bit confused as to why Wilkes is being let go. But I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to find another job pretty quickly, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, when the news came out, it was Kyle Shanahan that made the decision. So that just tells you how much power Kyle Shanahan has over his coaching staff.
Yeah.
Because his wording was this morning, he said this in a press conference that literally happened 10 minutes before or 10 minutes after he let go.
Wow. Yeah.
So he came out into the press conference and said, "This morning I relieved Steve Wilkes of his duties. We're going to end up making a change here at defensive coordinator." A really tough decision because it really says nothing about Steve as a man or as a football coach. I mean, He's exactly what we wanted as a man. He's a great football coach, but just where we're going and where we're at with our team from a scheme standpoint and things like that, looking through it all throughout the year to these last few days, I feel pretty strong that this was a decision that was best for the organization. So to me, this feels more like a systematic decision or a scheme decision. I'm not sure if, compared to the defense that D'Amico Ryans ran or the defense that Evero ran,
Or
if
Salah.
or Salah, if this is kind of a different spin on it and they were willing to test it out, but maybe they didn't actually like it. In Wilkes' first and only season with the Niners, the defense had its share of ups and downs, a unit that led the NFL in multiple categories in 2022 under D'Amico Ryans, including fewest points per game allowed, 16.3, and defensive expected points added, 89.58. Took a step back in 2023, but they were still third in points allowed, 17.5, and ninth in defensive EPA. And they sprung significant leaks against the run in the playoffs, allowing Green Bay, Detroit, and Kansas City to average 5.1 yards per carry and 150 rushing yards per game in the postseason. So I think a lot of this probably has to do with the postseason breakdown on the rushing defensive side of the ball. And Shanahan openly admitted it was real tough losing D'Amico. It was tough losing Salah the year before. We had committed not just to the system, but the players that had been in the system. From our D-line or linebackers, they had played it in the system for such a long time. So it was my goal not have to change all of them and bring in Steve, who was unbelievable. But it just ended up not being the right fit, and it hurt for me to do this. So, yeah, that is 100% based on what he's saying. I don't think Kyle Shanahan doesn't strike me as a guy that has to lie. He has the power to tell the truth, and there's not a lot of coaches that have that power, but he's one of them. So yeah, those other guys that you mentioned, D'Amico Ryans and Salah, they fit the scheme that he wanted to run, and Steve Wilkes didn't. I think that's all it is.
Yeah, and hearing that, definitely, right? Because if you want to just make it to that next level, you've got to make some hard decisions. And Shanahan fortunately made one of those. He said, hey, when he was asked about the staff, like, are you keeping everyone on the staff? Maybe at that point in time, he was saying, hey, yes. But Kyle Shanahan and a lot of very few coaches strike me as a type who go into work the next day after losing a Super Bowl and go over everything, right? Like they go over every detail about what happened. So at the time, yes, he's saying this, but you kind of go over everything. You see things that you weren't able to see in game, and you make decisions based off that. And Bill has a good question here. I thought all the DC slots had been filled on the other teams already. Where could he go? That's actually a good question. I wonder if he would, because you see DC coaches, you see OC coaches kind of take a little bit of a lesser role. They're working with the defensive line, they're working with the D-backs, things like that. So maybe he doesn't have a job this year, and maybe he unfortunately can't find one, takes the year off, comes back next year off season, or we saw a lot of coordinators get fired in the middle of the season. Maybe he's one of those guys that gets hired as well. And
Evero. He was our coordinator before last season. He's the Panthers defensive coordinator. So when you look at their defensive stats, that's the standard. A guy that can go from any team. And I mean, this guy's probably going to be a head coach soon. But yeah, there's every team has a defensive coordinator right now. The Chargers have Jesse Minter. Jeff Hafley was the Packers hire from BCU or Boston College.
Yeah.
Chris Shula, Anthony Weaver. There's not a spot available, but what I think sometimes they take a step down in, like you said, positional groups, but sometimes they'll also take a step up and be a defensive advisor or something like that. I don't know, this guy's resume if he could do that, but I'm sure being on a team that made it to the Super Bowl, his value is going to be high enough to stay in the league this year. But if, worst case scenario, maybe he ends up taking a job at a place like Alabama or who just moved off Nick Saban, and maybe he becomes a college guy.
Yeah, you're right. That's actually a good point. I didn't even really think about that. But all right, so we'll move on to a player that got kept on the team, and really this is just more of a, hey, you're going to be paid your guaranteed salary. That's going to be Geno Smith on the Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks informed Geno Smith just today that they will retain him through the week, which will guarantee his almost $12.5 million salary that he's owed for 2024. Now, that does not necessarily mean that he is the quarterback for the Seahawks, although if you're spending that type of money, I feel like you're going to go with that guy, but they still have a month until he is actually on the roster to kick in that extra $9 million plus bonus. So the Seahawks, if you're the Seahawks with a brand new head coach, McDonald there is the defensive guy, brand new staff, really just kind of a brand new team in a sense with, obviously some players are coming back. You're looking at this and you are evaluating, okay, yes, we're going to keep them through Thursday. We don't want to necessarily make any hasty decisions because we don't have that many great options right now. But if we have to take a hit at $12.7 million for the year, you may as well do it with a quarterback like Geno Smith, who has had 2 pretty solid years. This one a little bit worse than last, but he does seem to be your best option at this point. So they're keeping him. They still have a month to assess whether or not he will have that roster spot and that roster bonus. But what do you think, Kyle? Do you think he is day one starter for the Seahawks?
Yeah, I do think he's day one starter. Otherwise, they would move off of him. But I do think that it changes nothing like in regards to Seattle drafting a quarterback. Especially with what you're seeing from Jordan Love, it just makes sense that maybe they want to keep Geno to be a mentor to another quarterback. And what was it, $9.6 million?
Roster bonus.
We're not talking about a ton of money here. I mean, it's a lot to us, but like not for the quarterback position. So I think this is kind of a team-friendly-ish deal. I think it's a win-win for both parties. And I also think this was part of the long-term strategy when the Seahawks signed him to that deal. If they didn't want this deal to kick in this year, then they wouldn't have had the contract going on this long to begin with. But I think it was about drafting the replacement in what we knew this year would be a quarterback-heavy market and allowing Geno to mentor him for 1 year, and then that guy will take over next year. That's the way I see it playing out.
Yeah, and they didn't make the playoffs this year. So you're kind of thinking like when he signed that deal, it was a 3-year deal. You're obviously thinking like, okay, this guy basically had some sort of Ryan Tannehill type of year where, hey, he might be throwing for over 4,000 yards, 30 plus touchdowns for the next few years. And like you said, like they're not necessarily going to be in a spot where they can draft a high pick quarterback. So why not have this guy who does seem to be having good, obviously you're kind of betting on that will continue. And in this case, it didn't this year. But again, you don't know what's going to happen next year. You got a lot of good players there with JSN and DK. So you got some very, very solid offensive weapons there for Geno to throw to. Maybe he was hurt. He was out for a couple games where what's his face had to come in. The other quarterback, Drew Lock had to come in for him. Especially against that really, really exciting, I believe it was a Thursday night football game, that Drew Lock won. So,
because he got hurt at halftime, and then
exactly
that touchdown pass at the end. Who
So
was
you're
that?
kind
It
of
was a
betting on
great
that.
team.
It was it the Cowboys?
It feels like it was the Cowboys, yeah.
Or the Eagles? It was the Eagles.
It was the Eagles. It was the Eagles.
Yes. Because AJ Brown was going for a pass on the sideline and someone came and intercepted it.
Yeah. I think that was the game-winning interception way at the end.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Off topic, but I went to my house, smoked some vitamins at night, and there's always skunks running through, pissing me off. Ruins my buzz and makes me go inside and hurry. Yeah, I would be mad for a totally different reason. I'd be like, wait, is that me or the skunk?
So Gino, dude, I feel that. I remember I saw a skunk in my backyard once, dude. I fucking moonwalked the fuck out of there back into my house. I was like, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Dude,
Right.
when I got orders from Jacksonville to Washington,
Mm-hmm.
we drove through Colorado, and I stayed in a mountain town I love for like a week. And the first day up there, I'm driving down the street and I hit a skunk. And I have my son in the back seat, right?
Oh
And all of
no.
a sudden, the car like it fills up with like a gas. It's like a
Yeah.
gas. And of course, I'm freaking out because my son's back there. So like naturally you roll the windows down to get fresh air. But I
Mm-hmm.
rolled the windows down and it like got worse because the skunk it just skunked us as it got
Oh
killed.
my god.
So I have to like
Got
pull over in the
skunked.
middle of the road, unbuckle my son from his car seat, and just grab him, leave my car there, and take off running. Like
What the fuck, Kyle?
because like he was
Kyle's
so
running over the baby.
yeah.
Does not look suspicious at all.
We got skunked. But I spent the next 6 days with vinegar and whatever else trying to get the smell out of everything, and it was
you can't.
It takes
You
it's
really
just
can't.
luckily for I don't mind the smell. Let's just say that.
Nick said you were a victim of chemical warfare. Indeed, he
Yeah,
was.
it was
Indeed,
burning
he
my
was.
eyes. It was like we got pepper spray.
Literal war crimes were committed on Kyle and his son. How dare they?
I wouldn't take it that far, but it was
war crimes. I say war crimes. Speaking of crimes, the Bears finally released longtime pain in my ass, Eddie Jackson, our once Pro Bowl safety, our once ball hawk who got a ton of interceptions, was part of that awesome 2018 Bears defense that was just killing it. Super Bowl aspirations at that point, but then of course we had Mitch Trubisky at quarterback, so we had to tame those a bit. But Eddie Jackson finally gone. Cody Whitehair going along with him. Cody Whitehair, those were the two longest tenured Bears on that team, and now they are gone. Eddie Jackson at the end of the season was like, "Hey, I hope to stay with the Bears. You know, I love Chicago. You drafted me. You got me here." And in my head, the sentimental side of me gets to it. And I'm like, oh man, why not keep Eddie Jackson? He had a pretty decent season. And then you look at some of the highlights or really lowlights of what happens. And it's like Cody Whitehair blocking his own guy, not knowing that he's in pass pro. Eddie Jackson missing tackles in the open field, just completely not even putting in any effort. So I look at that and I'm just like, I don't want to lean into this emotional side of me where I'm like, Eddie Jackson from 2018, though, he'd be fucking sick. No, it's Eddie Jackson is not the same guy anymore. He did get a couple interceptions. He was decent. But Eddie Jackson no longer the playmaker that he was. 15 years.
Think about that.
What?
Between Eddie Jackson and Cody Whitehair, they had 15 years of experience.
Yeah.
That's
and
a long time. Like I get what you mean though. It's sad. Like, but he's not Von Miller, know. Like you gotta reserve that feeling for like the ones that truly like your Brian Urlacher. Yeah.
Urlacher. Yeah.
always say the same name coincidentally. Is it because he's the only guy?
Well, I got
No,
like
I'm just
Charles
kidding,
Tillman too. Like those guys,
oh yeah,
you
yeah.
miss
Charles
those
Tillman.
guys. You're like, can we put them on this defense right now?
But I
So,
think
yeah.
what stands out to me the most with this move was one, I didn't know if you were going to be happy or not, but I could tell during the intro you don't care. And then number two, it was that Chicago now, per over the cap, is going to enter the offseason with 66.9.
Yep.
69 million in cap space, which is the third most in the NFL. And I think when you look at the Bears, you guys are, it's time. Like you guys could load up. You've done it the right way. You're getting your team through the draft. You're not overpaying for positions that you could get similar value in the draft. The Bears are, man, I think if they do decide to invest in Justin Fields, I think it's going to pay off for them. But I almost feel like the Bears are going to succeed whether they draft Caleb Williams or stay with Fields. If they use their resources, but they're one of the few teams that's trending in the right direction that has the most money, which is, that's a big part of it. Like, yeah, you can buy your Super Bowl ring if you want to do that for 1 year, but the Bears are building their roster through the draft, not through free agents.
100%. And we got Daniel Barry Sports Highlight in the chat. Yo, what's up, man? Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. So what I will say, oh, you can't? Oh, Kyle's having some technical difficulties here. I think he's gonna have to turn on.
Shut up! I'm not talking to you.
Make out with it.
Fucking Siri popped up. Yo, we got Daniel Barry Sports Highlights in the chat.
Oh God! So yes, Kyle, I agree with you. The Bears have the most money. We Nick saying he can hear us both. Appreciate it. Thank you for the checks. But the Bears have the most money. They're building through the draft. I do think, again, I don't know what they're going to do if they go Caleb Williams. Again, I'm putting all my trust in Ryan Poles. They have a ton of money now. Like you said, they got enough money to pay Jalen Johnson. They got enough money to extend people if they need to, or sign free agents if they need to, bolster that defense, bolster that offensive line, which is what they really need. Maybe a center, maybe a guard there too. Like, they've got a ton of money to do really anything. And like you said, Ryan Poles has done it correctly, man. You save a bunch of money, you cut the guys you don't really have that emotional connection to, and it saves you a ton of money for the cap. And it's going to make your team better really at the end of the day. So like you said, do I care? Not really. I don't really care. I mean, Eddie Jackson, again, he was very frustrating these last couple seasons. He was injured for a couple of them, a few games in those few seasons, but the aggravation that I would have watching him play, and I'm just like, come on, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I can do without that. I can absolutely do without that for the future. We have Tyreek Stevenson. We have oh my God, why can't I remember his name? Brisker at safety now. Kyler Gordon's there. Like, we're gonna build through the draft. We drafted I believe a safety last draft as well. So we're gonna be fine. Like, Ryan Poles is finding these talented guys in the secondary. Like he is on top of it. So not worried at all about, Eddie Jackson, Cody Whitehair again on the offensive line. I was just as frustrated with him as Eddie Jackson on the offensive line. So again, don't care. See you guys. I hope you guys find a job and continue to play the game of football. But to be honest, I'm glad you're not doing it on the Bears.
Damn, that's messed up.
Damn.
I'm looking really quick. Let's see really quick. Eddie Jackson. So he's your safety, correct?
Yeah. Think strong. No, free safety, I believe.
All right. So, and just so you guys know, you're about to get so much value out of this podcast because I used the 30% off promo code for PFF for the year. And if you're thinking to yourself, God, I don't want to spend money on that. Well, you don't have to. As long as you're subscribed here, we'll be able to give you all the latest news, stuff that you have to have special access to. This was a hard decision for me, but at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? I need it in order to give the people the most. Like, that's why you subscribe. So you don't have to do it.
Exactly.
All right. So your roster. All right. Eddie Jackson. You said he was your safety.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Safety. Eddie Jackson. Ooh. Ranked 76th out of 95 safeties.
Yep.
58.6 grade on defense. 55.3 on running defense. 58.9 on pass rush. Only 60% on coverage. There's not even a bright spot here.
He sucks, dude.
Yeah. Well, okay. It confirms it. Eddie Jackson sucks. And who's your
Kyle was questioning me. I want you guys to know he had to go to PFF to be like, I think Rick is wrong, but no, PFF says he's right.
What was this? What was the center?
Cody Whitehair.
Cody Whitehair.
Yeah, he was bad.
Was he bad also?
Yeah, he was not good. He was maybe average, but there were times where he was bad.
Do you know who the highest graded offensive player on your team was this year?
Probably Justin Fields. No, DJ Moore.
Yeah. DJ Moore. He was an 89.4, which was 10th of 128 receivers. Khalil Herbert was 14 of 59 running backs. And Mercedes Lewis, your tight end, 5th of 72 tight ends. Justin Fields. He's got really great grade on running. Or no. On receiving, 66. Oh, run blocking, yeah. So he was one of the best run blocking tight ends in the league this year.
I was like, Mercedes Lewis caught maybe 5 passes in the season.
But Fields is right there at 21 of 38 in 74.
Yeah, that checks. That checks. So,
but man, you guys are in good shape. You're not losing anybody important in this. You're going to be able to get a better safety from the draft, and you're not going to have to pay him for 4 years. Do you want him to draft the safety?
If we can get one for good value, then yeah, sure, why not? I mean, Eddie Jackson was I want to say maybe like a 3rd or 4th rounder where we got him. So he turned out, his first 2-3 seasons, he was pretty goddamn elite. We thought we had, a Mike Brown type of safety, on the Bears for the future. And then he just kind of just shit the bed after his 3rd year. So, I mean, he did have injuries again, which totally play into that. And I get that. But again, just, you just fell off a cliff at that point. So, would I want them to draft one? Sure. Again, if it's great value, I don't know if I'd want a 2nd or 3rd rounder spent on it, maybe like a 4th. But if we can even get one through the free agency, then sure, why not? We've got money. We can do it. We can absolutely do it.
And Ginger says, get off Cody pube hair. He's a fucking stallion.
Get off old Cody pube hair. He's a fucking, I wish he was so I could feel bad about him being cut, but he was not. He was absolutely not.
And Bill, since you're a longtime watcher at the show, I'll let you know that your highest graded player was Andrew Thomas, the tackle. And then Tyrod Taylor is number 2. Jesus then Saquon Christ. Barkley. Maybe Tyrod Taylor's the answer. But I think we had a couple more moves, right?
I don't know. We were going to go into free agency actually here.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm super excited about this.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the NFL free agents that are, you're looking forward to, especially me as a Bears fan. So let's look at a couple of the ones that are really at the top of the list here. Off the rip, Chris Jones, defensive tackle, just won a Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs. But He's expected to be a free agent. And his projected market value is about $84.5 million over 3 years. So that's about $21.8 million a year for Chris Jones at defensive tackle. He's 29 years old, so still on the younger-ish side, not necessarily like plateaued yet, because I mean he was very good this year. Chris Jones at number 1 on the NFL free agency list. Kyle, what do you think?
I'm going to say maybe the Broncos sign him. Maybe.
Oh, you think so? Division rival right there.
I think it's possible. But the Chiefs might also re-sign him as well.
Yeah, because we were talking about this last year too, right? Around the same time.
Yeah, so that's why I was confused. I didn't realize his first deal or the deal he made was only through the season. So, that's a crazy one. I could give you maybe a crazier one.
Let's see. Go ahead.
T. Higgins.
Yes, dude. He is 26, 25, 24 years old.
Yep.
And he's not reached his peak yet. He is not.
He was drafted in the same draft as Jerry Jeudy, actually.
Oh, really?
So, So they're just not picking up his option, I guess.
Damn, dude. T. Higgins could you imagine T. Higgins, let's say, in Buffalo?
I think he's going to go to Jacksonville.
Oh.
I think that could be possible. Imagine, Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, and T. Higgins all on the field at the same time.
Well, I do think Calvin Ridley is also a free agent. And if they do pick him up, yeah, he is. And he's 29 years old right now. So, I mean, if you want to go, if he goes to Jacksonville, you would almost expect Calvin Ridley to not even be in the picture, right? Like they picked him up, they traded for him or whatever. He was out a year. He came back, and there were games where Calvin Ridley looked good, and you're like, oh, here we go. He's about it. And then he was like gone for games. And we mentioned that through streams, through primetime streams that we did during the season. We're like, where the fuck is Calvin Ridley at, right?
Yeah, and I don't know. I still think Calvin Ridley has a lot of ball left in him.
Yeah.
I think he could even be a top 5 receiver. It was his first year back, so I think next year will be a lot better. Josh Allen is going to be a free agent.
That's insane to me. That does not compute. That does not compute to me. Josh Allen's going to get picked up. He's going to get an extension. He's going to sign a contract. Like Buffalo cannot lose Josh Allen.
No. Jacksonville Jaguars, Josh Allen.
Oh, Josh Allen. Oh, my God, dude. I'm fucking tripping balls.
I know. I was messing with you on purpose.
You son of a bitch.
I was letting it roll. Oh, God. All right. Give me your feedback really quick. I got to.
Right here. This is my feedback. This is my feedback right here. Look, Kyle. Look. Check it out.
Oh, come on.
Josh Allen, the defensive end, not the quarterback, which Kyle screwed me over on just now. Yeah, God, I to be honest, if I'm being honest, Josh Allen, the defensive end, can be very disruptive. I don't follow the Jacksonville Jaguars that closely. So I don't really know what type of impact he's had. I mean, I've heard his name and he has had some good stats. I just don't think Josh Allen is that big of a name, but the projection for Josh Allen is 5 years over $100 million, $21.7 million a year. That's the annual value or average annual value. So that's what they're projecting Josh Allen to be. And I mean, I got to go into his stats here because I mean, he's got to be an absolute monster. Of course they put Josh Allen, the quarterback, too. God damn it. Kyle, see what happens. Even they think it's Josh Allen, the quarterback, when I click on the link.
No. I was messing with everybody, not just you.
What do you mean?
I was messing with the chat as well. Is that the they you're talking about?
No. I was like, the websites like CBS Sports, I click on the link of Josh Allen from Jacksonville Jaguars. It's Josh Allen, the quarterback. So I'm not the only one who's fucked up here. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was like, God damn.
Oh my gosh. My favorite thing, I think I'm going to create a Twitter page dedicated to just when ESPN, CBS Sports, like anytime they get something wrong, a typo in a story, and it's just going to go there. How would you feel about that?
Follow that and retweet every single time. And Nick, yes, Kirk is also up on his contract as well. Kirk Cousins, and
he's the number 2 on PFF. He's the number 2 rated free agent target this year.
Yeah, same on CBS. And I was asking because Ginger's saying he really is a stud, Rick, damn good player. Regarding Josh Allen from the Jacksonville Jaguars, I was saying I don't follow the Jaguars that closely, but I hear Josh Allen's name, but I don't hear it a lot. I don't hear it in one of the more dominant type of edges, but he's expected to make over $100 million on a 5-year deal, and he is only 26 years old. So, I mean, I could see that for sure.
Are you talking about Josh Allen, the quarterback?
No, Josh Allen, the defensive edge.
Okay, now you got me fucked up. No, I was going to say, though, isn't it weird that CBS Sports would get that wrong when we all knew that he signed a massive contract?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you make that mistake? And if you even are thinking about making that mistake, how do you not check? It just
that's
makes
what
me
I was
wonder,
doing real time.
Why can't we get this job? It just little things like that. It was like when that reporter for Tampa asked the head coach, or the reporter asked the head coach at Tampa if the weather was going to be concerning, and he's like, no, because they play indoors. And then she went on again. She's like, yeah, but the cold, and he's like, we're going to be outside for 15 seconds from the bus ride to the door. It's about 10 seconds. No, it won't. God. And it just makes me wonder, is it school? Is that what I'm missing? If I just go to school, do I get that? Because when you see stuff like that, it's like, it's obviously someone's there because of school.
Yeah. They're not teaching them that, hey, the weather does not affect the dome. I don't know if you guys know this, but yeah. So that one was funny because I clicked because I was asking the chat. I was telling the chat, I was like, I've heard Josh Allen's name, but not as one of the dominant edges in the NFL. And so I went to go look up his stats. I clicked on it and it was Josh Allen, the quarterback. I was like, well, at least I'm not the only moron.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not writing stories for CBS Sports,
exactly.
So you actually can make that mistake if you want.
One of the other ones too, the other defensive guys, Justin Madubuike from the Baltimore Ravens. Remember how much of a fucking impact he made on that squad? And I think we had mentioned it on one of the streams here.
Where does he rank on CBS's list?
So he's number 7, expected a 4-year contract, over $80 million, over $81 million.
Is Christian Wilkins at 6?
Christian Wilkins is at 8, actually. Brian Burns from the Panthers is at 6.
Okay, so on PFF, they have Josh Allen at 3. No, not that one.
No, not that
number
one.
4, T. Higgins. And number 5, it's Brian Burns.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's weird because the number 5 for CBS, they have Jalen Johnson from the Bears.
Ooh. Yeah. Jalen Johnson does feel like a 5. I mean, he was the best corner in the league last year.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be a top cornerback in the future.
He was the highest graded corner though,
last season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just mean I think for his entire career, he probably should be up there because he has been a fucking dominant cornerback for the Bears.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just hearing about him now. You know how that happens though. As a fan, you know your players.
It does, and I mean, for example, L'Jarius Sneed, was one of the guys that I was like, oh, him and McDuffie, oh my god, they are pretty damn good. You know what I mean? At cornerback there, so I get it.
Well, at number 8, I think this is a super valuable one, and I think the Bears, if they were going to pay the safety that walked, this is a great option. Antoine Winfield Jr. from Tampa Bay. Yeah. This is, whoever gets him is going to, I mean, that is He's still in his prime. He's still young. He's compared to Jesse Bates. That's his comparison. Would you be interested in him? And do you think he's going to end up on a different team?
I would 100% be interested in him. Absolutely. Will he end up on a different team than the Bucks? I mean, maybe. The Bucks right now just seem to be kind of like in this weird like limbo type of thing where it's like, look, Baker Mayfield had an outstanding season, but we had a really good game against the Eagles there in the playoffs, but we still struggled to just win the division in general. So which route do we want to go here, right? Do we want to stick with Baker and try to have somewhat of a like Seattle Seahawks type of hope with him, where it's like, are we going to continue to win the division and are we going to continue to go in the playoffs, or do we want to kind of tear it down? And that means letting go of some veterans, and that means letting go of, Baker Mayfield and kind of starting anew with,
that would be
something
disaster.
Like that. I think so.
I think too. You keep Baker, but yeah, I think you just start building around him. At some point, you have to say, this guy played good enough where he not only earned it, like he deserves Tampa to see what they can do with him. Just like anytime you have a franchise quarterback, immediately you're like, how can I help him? You can't not do that with certain people and wonder why they don't pan out. It's like when we were like, we got to make Drew Lock work. We drafted KJ Hamler and Jerry Jeudy, 2 wide receivers in the first 3 rounds. And that was like, okay, let's invest in our draft pick. And I think sometimes rookies get the benefit of the doubt because they're the new shiny toy and you want to unlock their potential. And guys like Baker Mayfield consistently just go from shitty situation to shitty situation. And nobody ever says, hey, what if we build around this guy? Hopefully Baker has at least earned that right for next season, because I think he could be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And I've felt this way for a long time. I've always felt like Baker Mayfield was a good quarterback. And I remember the way you felt this year about CJ Stroud was the way I felt about BakerMayfield. I remember watching those games and being like, why can't we get one like that? Like, why does it only go?
Right?
And I'm not willing to say that I, was wrong. If you feel that way about a guy, he's really special. You don't just feel that way all the time. Michael Pittman is also going to be a free agent.
Yes.
How long does your list go on? Because I have 100.
I have 50. So, I mean, we don't have to get to all of them. I do just like kind of looking at the top ones, because Michael Pittman, for example, is one that, and Ginger will know, like, I feel like he was undervalued as a wide receiver, or maybe underappreciated is more the right word. This guy had over 1,000 yards, I think over 100 catches this season with Anthony Richardson and Gardner Minshew. So, this guy can be very valuable to a team that is very pass heavy, or at least trying to be very pass heavy with their offense, and needs either a number 1 or a very strong number 2 type of wide receiver. And I mean, you could list off a bunch of teams that could use that. I mean, the first one that comes to mind where he would be like an immediate contender is like the Ravens. Would he be an upgrade over, would he be a compliment to Zay Flowers? Yes, and Kyle hates this. But would he be an upgrade over Aguilar? Would he be an upgrade over Likely? Like, absolutely. Like, he is an upgrade over all those wide receivers in that
Lamar
room.
Doesn't get any more weapons until he proves that he can win a playoff game.
He got to the AFC Championship game. What do you mean?
I mean, I feel like that was, look at all the moves they made.
Yeah.
Now you're
absolutely.
like, no, let's get more weapons. It's like, why don't we figure out why Odell Beckham only had 1 target in a playoff game? What was the point of bringing him onto the team? I think the coaching was just dog shit. But there's another wide receiver that's available that might be even a bigger name, because he's a Hall of Famer if he retired today. And that is Mike Evans.
Yeah, Mike Evans.
Mike Evans. Another 1,000-yard season. This time set the record for most consecutive. He's going to be a free agent. I don't know how that's going to affect Baker Mayfield. And if you are going to invest in Baker, and this is a good point, like if you're letting Mike Evans walk, maybe they are just blowing it all up. and because you get that chemistry between two players, you want to keep them together. So I don't know if it's off the table that the Tampa would not sign Mike Evans or Winfield, but it does feel like there's a fork in the road, and
exactly,
they're either going to go one way or the other. And even if they keep Baker next year, if they go that other way, they're kind of fucking him in a way where like they'll want to move off him next year. It's like, why? Oh, because you didn't have a great season. Oh, I wonder why. You got rid of Mike Evans, fucking all these other weapons around. Like, this is a real fork in the road for them.
And again, like it really does depend which way they want to go. And Mike Evans, if he does become a free agent, I mean, one of the teams that I'm looking at with the number one, right, is the Ravens. Like the Ravens can use and when we're talking about Brian Burns and Chris Jones, I mean, the first team that I'm looking at is the Ravens. Let's get them to the Ravens. Let's give them all the weapons, Kyle.
Top five, no debating. Top five.
Oh, just fucking click.
Oh yeah, but no, Calvin Ridley is probably the most value. I know he's at 24, but I think Calvin Ridley. I think when you look back 10 years from now, Calvin Ridley will make the biggest impact on whoever he has, and maybe his value looking low on this list. If it's low on the market, some team's going to be super, super lucky to get him. And now, Marquise Brown too is available.
Oh yeah, Hollywood Brown is available too, and he had a very meh year with the Cardinals, but that was because Kyler Murray was injured. You had in the Pastronaut Joshua Dobbs there for a little bit, so he kind of struggled a bit too. And one of the other names that I was looking at, and surprisingly, is a top 20 name. I mean, I guess Chase Young.
Yeah, I was just about to mention him.
What do you think, Chase? I mean, he's expected to get a contract at about $27.3 million for 2 years, so about 13 per year. But do you think like Chase Young had a very good first half of the Super Bowl and then was completely silent the rest of the game, and he really didn't make too much of an impact at the trade deadline with the San Francisco 49ers. His name popped up, but do you think he gets like that big money?
Did you see the Super Bowl?
Sure did.
Yeah, he's going to get the money. The edge rushers are becoming do you have a great quarterback? Do you have a great head coach? Do you have a great edge rusher? It's becoming that spot in the league, especially with how great quarterbacks are when it comes to being mobile. I mean, edge rusher is just something that you have to have if you're going to contend for a Super Bowl. And Chase Young is one of the good ones. And I know that he's got the ACL that he was recovering from. Was that this season? In the beginning of this season, he missed all of last season or most of last season. But he's a strong run defender. He's not just a pass rusher. I think that there's going to be a team that's going to be willing to gamble, if that's what you want to call it, on giving Chase Young the market standard, maybe even a little bit more. I wouldn't be shocked if it's a market setting contract.
He's only 24 too.
He's only 24 years old.
Yeah.
And I think if I were an owner, I would probably not pay him that money, but I could totally see why he would get paid. Like somebody's probably going to be really stoked to add him to a team that needs a pass rusher, needs a veteran. He's got probably 10 to 15 seasons left. And when he was drafted, where? First overall, I believe, right?
I don't think he was first overall. Let me double check. Chase Young draft. Let me see where he was drafted. Did Chase Young get drafted? Young was drafted with the Commanders with the number 2 overall in the 2020.
Number 2 overall pick. So you tell me where else you're going to find a number 2 overall pick without having to trade up or give a shit ton of stuff away. This is a free agent. Number 2 overall picks. Mitch Trubisky. Well, besides like guys that were bust. This is like, okay, give me a guy that was drafted 2 overall that wasn't a bust, that a team was willing to part ways with him with getting
He's got
nothing
injury issues though too. Chase Young does have some injury issues, some injury history.
He does, but the upside is just it outweighs the other stuff.
It does. Yeah, you're right.
And we'll see. Maybe a team just gives him a 1-year deal. Prove you can be healthy, or incentivize his amount of games he starts, which is what you're seeing a lot of teams do. Where a bonus kicks in if he plays 80% or more. Another one that was a huge talking point. We even made a segment about this, and I feel really passionate about this specific player. Saquon Barkley is going to be a free agent again. He held out for a short period this past offseason, and then eventually, after a lot of people were kind of coming down on the Giants, they offered him a deal, but it was only for 1 year. Saquon Barkley didn't have, I guess, a great season, but I think when you look at Daniel Jones's win-loss record with Saquon Barkley healthy and with him not playing, and you see how much value he can bring to a team. I think the Giants are probably going to let him walk, and to me, this makes for one of the more intriguing decisions, because you're seeing a lot of running backs from 7th round, 6, 5, 4 pan out. It's just it's not worth it financially for some of these teams that are maybe not in a great financial situation. Like Denver would love to have Saquon Barkley, but we'd rather draft the second best running back in the draft at the 3rd round, and just not have to pay anybody. So if Saquon Barkley does end up walking from the Giants, is there a team that you think he lands on?
Oof. Oh God.
I have a team on my mind, but I wanted to see what you think.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of teams that had a lot of trouble running the ball, and could benefit from like Saquon Barkley. But again, it's like the injuries. You don't want to pay a guy too much. I don't know. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys are going to get, like, Tony Pollard's also a free agent. You think Saquon would go to Dallas?
I think Saquon, and this is, you're not, I think he could go to the Ravens. I think he could go.
True.
I can't even say it with like a straight face, but if the Ravens want to do that, I don't know if Gus Edwards, Justice Hill are keeping him happy enough, or DK. I mean, this is a bona fide top 5 running back. This isn't like, hey, we got 3 RB2s. We're in a good situation with depth, which is what you're seeing. The new league standard is not to have 1 RB1, a 3-down back. It's to have 2 floor RB1s, or 1 RB2 and 1 RB1, and split the carries so that they can, stay healthy throughout the year. So you almost, in order to get Saquon what he wants to be paid, you can't justify having multiple running backs. So he would have to go somewhere where they would be willing to get rid of all of their pieces. And I think that team could be the Denver Broncos. And I know I said all that financial stuff, but I've worked it out where Denver would have to cut ties with everybody that's currently under contract. And I even had it in my notes. Let's see if I can pull it up really quick. But Javonte Williams obviously came back from a horrific injury that kept expectations pretty low. But even with the low expectations, Javonte ranked as one of the worst running backs. So out of the 58 qualified running backs, Javonte Williams finished 51st on PFF, and his lowest grade was actually in pass protection. And it was really low. It was 27.8.
Oh, wow.
Out of 100. Just absolutely bad. And thankfully for Denver, undrafted Jaleel McLaughlin, he was a pleasant surprise. But I looked up his he scored the highest PFF grade on the entire team with an 86.2.
Oh my God.
However, though, his pass protection was really close to Javonte Williams, 34.6. So Denver, yeah, I mean, you saw Samaje Perine get a lot more playing time in areas where Denver needed pass protection, which is when you're clearly passing the football late in the game, can't run the ball, which made us predictable as an offense. And Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin, Samaje Perine, like, he's great, but Denver really doesn't have a great running game right now.
Yeah.
And we aren't really sure if Javonte is going to bounce back next season. It does seem like that, they could go for Barkley. What do you think?
I think the Broncos have a much bigger problem. That's quarterback. Like, I could see why you'd want to go for a guy like Saquon to kind of, I don't know, maybe elevate your team just in general. But I think the quarterback position has to be the absolute priority for the Broncos, whether or not you are going with Stidham, be outright in saying that, or, if you can get one through the draft, which a lot of people are saying that Broncos are going to get one through the draft, whether it be Bo Nix, whether it be JJ McCarthy, something like that. I don't, if Saquon signs with another team and you're trying to, if the Broncos are busy trying to get a quarterback or trying to get their offensive line or trying to do this, trying to like really get some of those solid pieces down, I don't think you're that disappointed sticking with Jaleel McLaughlin and Javonte. I could he go? Sure. I just don't think that's the priority, really.
And Nick, see, PFF, you guys got to go. If you haven't been here, it's like the greatest thing you'll ever find on the internet. If you love football, you can do a mock draft. And I already addressed those concerns in my mock draft. Not that mine matters at all, but I traded for Justin Fields and I drafted the best corner in the draft out of Alabama. So check out my mock draft on
Twitter.
X. And we'll definitely be going over more free agents as the season goes on. These were just some of the big names, but there's also a lot of names, even big names, that were not mentioned on purpose so that we can talk about it on another episode.
Absolutely. And that was our NFL free agent talk. We're going to said over the offseason, so make sure you stick on by. But Kyle, it's time. It's time, Kyle, for the Chad's little unlimited chives with Kyle. What you got for us, Kyle?
All right. So for my chives today, it's going to be teams that are in need of immediate help. Okay. This was an article that was written by Kevin Patra, around the NFL writer, and Denver Broncos need immediate help. These are the teams. And they're saying it's in running back. Top running backs under contract: Javonte, Chase Edmonds, Crockett, Tyler Batty. Key free agents: Latavius Murray, Mike Boone. And these guys weren't even on our team. Was this article written in 2023? It was written in 2023. This is going on that Twitter page I'm going to invent.
There you go.
Oh my God. Okay. Luckily I had backup chives in case these chives weren't good enough.
They were good back in like 2015.
Peyton Manning? Why is Peyton Manning on the list?
Why is he on here? Will Peyton Manning return to the Broncos? What?
Josh Jacobs is also going to be a free agent.
Oh, that's true.
One year ago, he led the NFL in rushing. Was it rushing touchdowns or rushing yards? I think it was rushing yards. I'm pretty sure it was.
Yards. Yes, he was. He was a leader in yards.
Okay, so my backup chives are going to be one underrated free agent in each position. At quarterback, Jacoby Brissett. Brissett made 2 appearances for the Commanders, but he looked good when we did see him on the field. 18 for 23, 224 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Maybe the Steelers, who are parting ways with 2 quarterbacks, maybe Jacoby Brissett is the next backup to Kenny Pickett. At running back, these are underrated free agents. J.K. Dobbins from the Ravens.
Yeah.
If it weren't for an Achilles injury that ended his season in week 1, Dobbins would have been hitting the offseason with a chance to be one of the top paid running backs in free agency. So this injury means he'll be on a 1-year prove-it deal, but he averaged 5.6 yards per attempt throughout his career. He's just 25 years old, and he has a lot of ball left. At wide receiver, Kendrick Bourne from the Patriots. Not a flashy receiver, but he could be a handful. Tight end, Hunter Henry, New England Patriots.
Ooh,
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
He was obviously really great these last couple seasons. Not so much last season, but the year before he was really good. Offensive tackle, Mike Anawinu. Guard, Kevin Zeitler from Baltimore Ravens. And center, Connor Williams from the Miami Dolphins. All underrated, I think, is safe to say, because there's even some names that I've heard, but I'm not like, oh yeah, that's, I got a face to the name. I don't.
Yeah.
So I think that fits the underrated, because all these guys had either an incredible season, an incredible career, or ridiculously high PFF grades this last season, all trending in a good direction.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins especially, man. Like his rookie year, people were like, man, this guy's gonna be good. This guy's gonna be good. Gets a couple injuries, has a really good rookie season, but then gets a couple injuries, and you're like, well, shit, because a 25-year-old running back going into free agency who's already had a couple of season-ending injuries does not look good to have a very, very long career. And I want to get to this comment here by Bill. Now that the serious part is over, did you guys see on Twitter that Justin Pugh sent me a signed football? He's a good dude. I'm going to look for it on Twitter, Bill, but that's fucking awesome, man. That's awesome.
What? No way.
Justin, yeah, that's pretty sick.
That's crazy. I just said his name.
Yeah, you did.
Kevin Zeitler. That's crazy.
No,
that is. I just said Kevin Zeitler from Baltimore is one of the underrated free agents, and Bill has an autograph from him.
No. Justin Pugh.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Kyle is literally still on some vitamin green, so we're gonna we'll forgive him for that one. But before we get out of here, guys, first of all, thank you guys so much for being here. Appreciate it. Again, the offseason has begun. The Chiefs are back-to-back Super Bowl winners, but it is offseason time. We are going to revisit the 2023 season as we kind of go along the offseason. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. But the offseason is upon us. Free agency, mock drafts, teams rebuilding, signing free agents. It's going to be fucking awesome. And you could catch it all right here on the Only Football Podcast. And you can go follow us on X, formerly Twitter, at And Now Rick, and the Only Football Podcast page at Only Football Pod. Kyle, where can they follow you at?
You can follow me at get ready, NFL with Kyle.
Yay! Shortened it. I love it. So you can go follow us. Make sure you follow us. We're going to interact with you guys, obviously, through Twitter. You could just ask Lil Lee. You could ask Bill. You could ask Angel. We're always kicking it with them on X. And other than that, please, before you get out of here, make sure to like this stream, hit that subscribe button, share it with your family and friends and people you kind of know but don't really know, and kind of like but actually don't really like because you talk shit about them behind their back. Make sure to go ahead and let them know about the Only Football Podcast.
You could even start a stream with them. I mean, you knew the things Rick said about me.
You guys don't even know.
You don't even know it.
But
I did want to say before we log off that that our hearts, thoughts, prayers,
Yeah.
everybody with
Yeah.
everybody that was affected from the Kansas City shooting that happened. It's a
Yes.
horrible thing that should never happen. People going out to celebrate and then later finding out that this person was targeting children, which is just the most despicable act a person could do. This is a monster and somebody that hopefully will be put to death so that he can no longer hurt people. But it's just sad that something like that happens. You know, everyone's trying to enjoy a Super Bowl, a parade. They got off for the work today, and some asshole just was so miserable that he wanted other people to be miserable with him.
Yeah, 100%. Hopefully, everybody's okay from that. I know there was at least one reported death, some very serious injuries happening from that shooting, but it sucks when it happens, when in a time of celebration in a place where everybody's getting together for a celebration. It's just completely unfortunate that happened. But just like Bill said, a bunch of KC fans had tackled him and got him down too. So, it's kind of that community. Yeah, that community taking action for that stuff. So props to those people who were able to take that person down. And again, very sorry to all the people that were affected by this terrible tragedy on a day that was supposed to be just a great day for everybody to celebrate. So it's very unfortunate, and we hope everybody is okay. Kyle, what else do you have?
Well, everybody's not okay, and that's the part that sucks about it.
Yeah.
But I know you mean though, like the people that weren't directly affected, I hope that they can I hope that this doesn't become something that sits inside of them for years and years. My younger sister was she went to Parkland, the high school that had the shooting in South Florida, and it happened on Valentine's Day, and I didn't even know until this year that she doesn't celebrate Valentine's Day because it reminds her of what happened that day. So it's
the worst.
Super, super sad. But yeah, shout out to the people that were brave enough to tackle him, because it's everyone always thinks like, oh, in this situation this is what I'd do, but we went to a special training that really showed you how much you react differently when you're in a state of shock and surprise. So shout out to those guys for rising up to the occasion and making sure that asshole got tackled. But yeah, that's all I got. I thought I had something else, and then I didn't. But I'm gonna be doing a mock draft. I'm gonna be doing it live at some point, so look out for that. I had much fun doing it that I thought I should do this live, and people can see step by step like the trades I make and stuff like that, so I can pretend that I'm an owner or a general manager. I'm gonna put a suit on probably.
Kyle's gonna play the goddamn part. Kyle's gonna make the play the goddamn part. He's gonna do that live draft. So make sure to stick around for that as well, because that's gonna be very exciting. And Kyle's already, like you said, he's already made some moves on Twitter. So if you don't, go to NFL with Kyle, go follow him on X and see the moves that he's already made for the Broncos as the GM or so.
I've made some moves. Yeah, check it out. Let me know what you guys think.
All right. Other than that, guys, again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Again, our schedule for this off season is going to be similar to kind of what you guys have been seeing us. But it's, starting next week, we're going to be doing this time right here. So go make sure to schedule your day around our stream, because I mean, come on, look at us. We're awesome. So do that. And if anything does change, we will be posting stuff to let you guys know ahead of time. Other than that though, Kyle, always a good time, brother.
Always a good time. Thanks guys for being here. See you.